Okay, so we are live now.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this live conversation with Mr. Anand Pillai. And welcome, Anand Sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to join this conversation on victorious believers. And okay, so we are live now. Okay, so as I have sent in the promotional messages that this session is surely going to be uplifting for a lot of you, and a lot of you who would be seeing this live and also later as well. Sorry for that. Yeah, sorry for that. So this we were looking forward to this conversation, and we wanted Anand Sir to address all of us, because I know it can be a life-changing conversation for a lot of us who are seeing this live and also who would watch it later. Right. So thank you so much for all those who have come here, and for all those who are watching it live, who can make it attend live, and for all who would be watching this video later. Welcome to this, and I would like to request all of you to subscribe to our channel. We'll be bringing out to you more conversations like this to uplift you, to make your belief intact, to make you believe in yourself, to make you believe in God. And as I say always, that believing in yourself and believing in God, everything will work together for good. So we'll come out victorious from this crisis as well, right? So in the start of the conversation, if I may ask Anand Sir, what is this crisis and what does any crisis mean to you? Personally and professionally, if you could throw us some light.
Yeah. See, from a crisis point of view, this possibly is the biggest and the greatest crisis that the world has seen. It is mentioned that we have seen more volatility, more uncertainty, and more complexity in the last 45 days than we have seen in the last 450 years. So that is one part of it. But having said that, this crisis is leading to a recession, leading to a kind of an economic downturn. If you take that part of it, this is the fifth crisis or fifth recession that I have gone through. I have started my career way back in 1981, and from that time onwards, I was in the IT industry for a good 3 decades, and I've gone into a variety of things. The last big crisis that I saw myself was the Lehman Brothers crisis. So in each one of these things, the flavoring, the rendering is very different. But possibly this is the longest period of a lockdown, the longest period of uncertainty, volatility, complexity, and ambiguity. Having said that, your security is dependent not on the situation, but on the God whom you believe, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And therefore, I am not moved. I am not dismayed. I possibly was a little bit surprised in the beginning, not anymore. And I think the moment you get into the situation where your security is on the God who created you rather than the situation which is controlling you, I think we are all safe and secure.
Great. And I always have people are talking about uncertainty and unprecedented times a lot, and VUCA has been the worst word. But what I personally feel, and you can give your opinion on that times will always be uncertain. Times have always been uncertain, and we could never predict time. Right, so we are always actually living in unprecedented and uncertain times. So is it not that the uncertainty of life is what we should accept and live with it?
Absolutely. No, the Bible all along tells us very clearly, you're not sure about tomorrow. You're only sure about today. But what I may not know what the future holds, but I definitely know who holds the future. And therefore, my certainty is there in the Lord Jesus Christ. Here, I want to make one statement. He is the only certainty in a not so certain world. He is the only constant in a constantly changing world. So if I fix my frame of reference on the author and finisher of my faith, I am not moved by the situation or the circumstances around me. And therefore, what people say, what people don't, how people behave and people don't, does not matter. It is my response to the situation.
Right, exactly. And so, sir, in this sort of time, as you talk, that it is our response that matters. So, how do one, amongst all this anxiety and the negativity that's going around and picking up on people? So, how does one frame this response?
Yeah, here I'm glad you used the word response. Nearly all of us know how to react in a situation. Very few of us know how to respond to a situation. Reaction can come out of emotion, reaction can come out of frustration, reaction can come out of doubt, out of disbelief. Response is the situation is calling for something, and we need to come out with the right action for that. Reaction is basically whatever is the spur of the moment. So, this situation calls for us to have at least three responses. The first one is we need to respond by looking at us inwardly, looking at our situation. Where is my security lying? The psalmist in Psalm 121, verse 1 says very beautifully, I look to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord who is the maker of heaven and earth. So, this is an opportunity for us not to look without, but look within. If you want to get discouraged, look at WhatsApp, look at YouTube, look at a whole lot of other things. The news around you is discouraging. This is an opportunity for you to take a step back and respond by looking within. The second one is this is also an opportunity for you to respond by realigning your priorities. That which was at one point in time a necessity is today a luxury. I'll give you a simple example. At one point in time, haircut was a necessity. Today, it is a luxury. Traveling to a particular place was a necessity. Today, it is a luxury. Eating outside earlier was a necessity. Today, it is a luxury. Wearing fancy clothes or fancy accessories was a necessity because of the social lifestyle that we lived in. Today, it is a luxury. And I can go on list by list. So the first one is look within. The second one is realign your priorities. And the third one is reflect and see what can we learn from this situation. I think it was Winston Churchill who said, and which has been quoted many times over, never waste a crisis. See, if this is the lowest, you cannot lose anything. You got nothing to lose, but you've got everything to gain. And once you have these three kind of responses, you are then ahead of the curve. But on the other hand, if you are reacting, there are a lot of reactions that can happen. Oh, why is this happening? Initially, a lot of people were reacting in a very negative way, and they were blaming the government, they were blaming the country, they were blaming the society, they were blaming the people around them. But when you look at it, out of the 7.3 plus billion people in the world, over 5 billion people are affected not by the COVID virus. The COVID virus is affected only about 4.6 million, but they are affected by three other viruses. And what are those three other viruses? Fear, anxiety, worry, and depression. So that is a reaction. A reaction is not the response that I gave you, response of introspection, response of reflection, realigning of the priorities, and response of seeing what is it that we can do. Instead, people are reacting, and 90% of the time, they are reacting negatively.
How do we, people are also So there are a lot of things that are concerning them, and due to that they are getting anxious. Like people are getting anxious, regarding their jobs. And now with the schools and now education as well close to regarding their children, so there is a lot of anxiety that's going on. So if how do we deal with that, and how do you tell them to be stable? And if you a few tools if you could give.
Yeah. See, you talked about anxiety or worry. Rick Warren, in his book, Purpose Driven Life, he says, when you think about a problem over and over again, that is called worry. When you think about God's word or the scriptures over and over again, that is called meditation. If you know how to worry, you already know how to meditate. You just need to shift the object or the focus of your attention. So if you want to focus your attention on your problems, that is called worry or anxiety. Shift the focus of that attention into God's word, and that is called meditation. The more you meditate on God's word, the less you have time to think about negative things and think about worrying. So the first antidote that I would recommend for people who are prone to anxiety disorder or prone to worry is shift your focus of attention on your negative problem into God's word. That is the first thing. The second thing that I recommend, and I've been mentioning this in all my talks, is you need to have 5 people in your ecosystem. Who are those 5 people? And I'm using these metaphorical terms. You need to have, and the order in which you have these people is very, very important. The first one is you need to have a Barnabas. Who is a Barnabas? A Barnabas is an encourager. Now, if you don't have an encourager among your friend circles, you become an encourager and you will be a positive influence. That is the first one. The second one is you need to have a Paul, somebody who is mentoring you. If you are not having somebody who's mentoring you, then you can become the third person. You can be a mentor to somebody. You need to be a Timothy. The fourth one is, and these 3 people are positive people, a Barnabas, a Paul, and a Timothy. But the fourth one is, you need to have a Mark. Who is Mark? Mark in Acts chapter 15, if you actually see, Paul disagreed with Mark. You need to have somebody among your friend circles who thinks differently, who's got a different orientation. That person will be able to bring about a balance in your ecosystem. The fifth person you need to have is you need to have a Peter, a person of a different personality, a different orientation. This person is also successful the way you are successful, but the person is wired differently. And this person, Peter, if you actually look at it in Galatians chapter 1 and verse 2, we find that Peter was very successful with the Gentiles. Paul was very successful with the Jews. But if you actually look at it, Peter was called for the ministry to the Jews, and Paul was called for the ministry to the Gentiles. So are you in a position to take another person of a different personality, weird personality according to you, but who is successful? Can you accept him or her? When you have these 5 people, let me go through those 5 people once again. You need to have a Barnabas. You need to be an encourager or be an encourager. You need to have a mentor. You need to have a mentee, a Timothy. You need to have a Mark, somebody who disagrees with you. And of course, you need to have Peter, somebody of a different personality who is able to come along with you and bring out the balance and decrease or nullify the anxiety disorder.
I have heard and I like this that metaphor that you have put, but it's very difficult for people, to have say Mark in the life. And
no, Mark is the easiest one. It is very difficult for you to get the first 3. See, everybody will not think the same. Mark is somebody who is thinking differently. Okay.
I actually meant dealing with Mark.
Dealing with Mark. No, that is that is where you need to mature, and that's the reason why I gave the order of importance. Supposing you get the Mark, the first person in your life, as you're growing, you will not be able to deal with. So you need to have a Barnabas, somebody who is by your side, who is encouraging you. The moment you build up your spiritual maturity, your spiritual strength with a Barnabas, then you need to go to the next level, Paul. You need to be discipled, you need to be coached, you need to be mentored. So that is the next level. Then once you are in that particular level, then you need to give back to society and mentor. Level 3. Level 4 is marked. If level 4 comes in the beginning, you're right, we will not respond, we will react. And therefore, the order in which we get these people or choose these people or interact with the people or be influenced by the people is important.
Absolutely. So everyone listening to that, see, the order is very important, and we mostly forget that order. And when we skip that order, then the problems arise. So as rightly
Absolutely.
said, if you if you don't go through the 2 stages, so if you don't have a, say, Barnabas and a Paul, and you directly go and make a Timothy, that is, you directly go and make a mentee, so then also you get into problems. So the order is very important, the order that is good.
Absolutely.
Now,
Vivek, I just want to take a step backward here.
please, sir.
See, your personality and my personality is diametrically different. I have learned that as I've seen. You are a very slow person, very seasoned person, a very reflective person. You think about a lot of things and you get a lot of things done your own way. My thing is, okay, now, here, go ahead, Now, supposing I had come across you in the year 1981 as a colleague, I would have got very frustrated with you. I would have got very upset with you. But I'm so glad that you are part of my friend circle, part of my influence circle, because your wavelength, your thinking, your pattern is so different and it is so needed for me. So we need to be very important. Take the case of the 5th person, somebody who disagrees with you. Mark is somebody whom you disagree with. But Peter is somebody who disagrees with you, whose personality is different. If that person comes in the beginning, your personality will get crushed. If Paul, the same Paul who got upset with Peter, if he did not have a Barnabas, I don't know if Paul would have ever seen the light of the day. Who was the first person to come into Paul's life? It was Barnabas. The last person to come into Paul's life was Peter in Galatians chapter 1. So we need to rightfully choose the order. And you were about to say something. I'm sorry I interrupted, but I wanted to bring the balance with your personality and how much I cherish your being an influencer in my ecosystem.
Thank you so much for that, sir. It is really a privilege to be in your circle, as it's uplifting for us. And I'll take the feedback as, to improve myself. Thank you. So next is, sir, if you talked about this, and what are the challenges if you see as a leader, you have had an a great career and long career. So as a leader, what would be your advice to the persons who are in leadership roles in their say jobs, institutions, career, whatever? So how in this time, what are the qualities that they should one have, or the skills that they should develop at such times?
Yeah, see, these 5 people you need to actively look for. See, they don't drop from the sky, or day 1 you'll get an encourager, day 2 you'll get a mentor, day 3 you'll become a mentee. No, it does not happen in the real life. And you need this for all the 5 areas of your life. 5 people, but 5 areas. What are the 5 areas of your life? The first, and it depends on whichever area you look at it in the order. The first one is your academic area. In your academic area, while you are a student, you need to have an encourager, you need to have a mentor, you need to be a mentee, you need to have a Mark, and you need to have a Peter. That is the first one. The second one is after you finish your education, you hopefully get into a job. So professionally, you need to have an encourager. Professionally, you need to have a mentor. Professionally, you need to have a mentee and a person of a degree, different wavelength and so on. So that is the second one. Third one, hopefully, immediately after that, you get married. And let's say you get married and you get into a situation. So you need a social uh, encourager, a social mentor, a social mentee, and so on. Then when you get into this, by this time, you possibly have got into a system where you are saying, oh, wait a minute, I need to be a person of multitasking. So you need somebody who is emotionally also an encourager, a mentor, and mentee. And all along in all those four areas, you need to have a spiritual encourager, a spiritual mentor, and so on. So you need to look for these five different kinds of people in all the five areas: academically, professionally, socially, emotionally, and spiritually.
And one question regarding, sir, as you talked, so I would like to have your advice. One of our from the audience in the last session, also some people have asked in today as well. Okay, how do you find a mentor? And one young person asked that, where are these ideal mentors? Your take.
Yeah, first of all, let me tell you one thing. As I told you, forget about ideal mentor. There is no ideal encourager also. There is no ideal anybody. You need to actively seek out prayerfully. See, we are having this context in the biblical context or in the scriptural context. So whose interest is it that we have a mentor? It is God's interest. God has brought about these people in our ecosystem. So one of the things that we need to look for is prayerfully look for, and there is a beautiful saying, it is a secular saying: when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the mentee is ready, the mentor appears. And here I want to clarify this concept of a mentor. There are two kinds of mentors: active mentors and passive mentors. Active mentor is somebody who is by your side, who is a living person. Passive mentor is somebody's writings. For example, Mahatma Gandhi is a mentor for me. Now, anybody who knows my age will know, hey, wait a minute here, when did you see Mahatma Gandhi? When did he become your mentor? No, his writings, his philosophy, his ways of working has been a mentor to me. So, some of us can have an active mentor, some of us can have a passive mentor, some of us have a combination. So, these ideal mentors don't come. You become a mentee and you will find that mentor, and there is no perfect mentor. I mean, I've had, for example, my spiritual mentor, Dr. John Ridgway, and then later on, earlier on, Dr. Graham French. Do you think they were perfect? I don't think so. Do you think I was perfect? I don't think so, and I most certainly am not. So we need to take people as a package deal. Everybody has got a set of strengths. Everybody has got a set of weaknesses. So if I find a perfect mentor, then I will be the imperfect person. It is like this person, a friend of mine, who was at that point in time 38 or 39. Whenever I asked him, I mean, he was still a bachelor. So I asked him, why are you not getting married? He said, I'm waiting for the perfect person. So I said, okay, you're waiting for the perfect person. And he kept on waiting. And at age 44, he said, Anand, I've got into a frustrated situation. What is the frustrated situation? He said, oh, well, I am 2/3 married. I said, what do you mean you're 2/3 married? He said, I am ready. The pastor is ready. Then I said, what happened to the third person? He said, no, I found the right person, and the right person is telling me that I am the wrong person. So my philosophy is, don't focus on the right mentor. Focus on being the right mentee. If you remember in the Samuel's case, Samuel went to Eli 3 times and said, sir, prophet, you called me, sir, called me. And Eli says, no, I didn't call you. After some time, he says, no, this is the Lord calling. And What is the instruction that he gives? He tells Samuel, tell the Lord, speak, for your servant is listening. So if you want to listen to the voice of a mentor, first learn to listen to the voice of God. How do you listen to the voice of God? God's command, God's instruction to you will not come in a series of sentences or paragraphs. It will come in a still small voice. The moment you tune yourself, you will be available. So the moment you become a mentee, you will find a mentor. Attitude and preparation is important.
So it is the, yeah, absolutely right. You said it is most of the times we forget to look at ourselves, and we are always finding, qualities in other people, or we are always finding the right person, and we forget being the right person. So very aptly said. Now, sir, I would like you to
Yeah,
please, sir.
I just remembered something that happened 2 hours ago. About 2 hours ago, very close friend of mine, he was wanting admission for his son, and he wanted his admission for his son in a particular institution where I'm on the board of that institution. And then anyway, he said, listen, oh, he did not get it in that campus, he got it in another campus. So I gave the details. Yes, this campus has got this strength, this campus has got that strength, and so on. So he almost was about to go to that, ask his son to go to that, and suddenly he found out from the alumni that the faculty in that campus is not as good as they wanted him to be. So I told my friend, listen, if your son was good enough, he would have got selected in the best campus. He was not having the academic credentials or the cutoff to get into that. He has got into this. Now you're saying that the faculty is of a lesser level. You're not questioning whether your son is of a lesser level or not. You're questioning that that person is of a lesser level. So we need to understand, we will all get the leader that we deserve. We will all get the mentor that we deserve. And that is what we need to be.
Right, absolutely. So first is to work on ourselves. That is the learning that I get, and then look for those things. Now, sir, if I would like you to wear, because you have been an HR leader for a long time, so I would like you to wear the HR leader hat, and please advise the, there are people who have been asking us about the job scenario, what would that be, and what are the skills that now they should have, people who are in middle of their career. So whether their skills that they are possessing, whether they will go obsolete, how do they upgrade, and what is ahead of it, that anxiety, if you could address.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a question that I get asked quite a few times. I look at Daniel chapter 1, verse 4 as a good example for us. If you look at Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar, when he chose the management trainees, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he chose them based on 7 competencies or 7 qualities or 7 selection criteria. What are those 7 selection criteria? The first one is they must be having the age and nobility. They must have the upbringing. Nebuchadnezzar wanted people of good character, wanted people of good upbringing. So that is a very, very important aspect of it. We need to focus on our upbringing. We need to focus on our character. It's not our education, but it's our character. The second one is we need to be physically and medically fit. During this lockdown, many of us, we are not in a position to exercise ourselves. We need to be physically fit and medically fit. Every appointment order will have one condition, and that condition is your appointment order is subject to you being physically and medically fit. So you need to, and our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Learn to take care of yourself. If I wanted to work for a living, or if I had to work for a living, I could have stopped more than 20 years ago, because by God's grace, at that point in time, I had achieved all that I needed to achieve, taken care of all the investments of my family, everything. But I still am working, and I possibly will continue to work as long as I have life in me, and that is to keep myself mentally active. So we need to be mentally agile. First one is nobility. Second one is physically and medically fit. The third one is we need to have the capability for every kind of learning. The term that is used is learning agility. We learn certain things. The business that we are involved in is not necessarily the business that will stay for the next 5 years. The company is in a particular business. So you have joined the company, a set of customers are there. But are you able to change the moment the business changes? So that third one is learning agility. The fourth one is general knowledge. Aware. Are we aware of our surroundings? David, amidst his army, he had men of Issachar who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. Today, if we have to have people who are succeeding, we need to have people who understand the times and know what Israel should do, the general knowledge. The fifth one is their ability to have a high mental aptitude, quick to understand. Quick to understand. They need to know the answer the moment the problem comes. And that is something that is very, very important. They need to have that ability. And the sixth one is they must have the ability to serve or executive presence. How do you conduct yourself amidst all the leaders, amid all the criteria, and most important, respect for authority. And I have a simple philosophy: if you want to be in a position of authority, much before you can get into a position of authority, you must learn to be submissive. And Daniel's first test was, are you going to be submissive to another ecosystem? This is a test. And once you pass that, you will be able to get bigger, more strategic roles.
Absolutely. And sir, as you have had, career changes, you have changed your domain of working and field of working in the spare of your career. So what are the tips, even if someone is looking and is not happy with his choice of career, they have taken up a job because they had to, and they want to follow their passion and they want to get into a different domain. So any tips quickly if you can give for them?
Yeah, see, before you get into a different domain, you must be successful in your current domain to some degree or the other. Very rarely have you had a situation where you take a person who's a failure and then you take it. You must, on a scale of 1 to 5, you must at least have about 3 to 3.5 competency in that. Yes, in another particular thing, on a scale of 1 to 5, you possibly will be 5. So the first thing is, do what you can do to your faithful best. The biblical principle is, before you can get a bigger responsibility, you need to be faithful in the smaller responsibilities. If he who is faithful in that which is the least will be faithful in that which is the most. The parable of the talents in Matthew chapter 25, this side of eternity, we will never be able to understand. Why is it that one person was given 1 talent, another person was given 2 talents, and another person was given 5 talents? I have come across a lot of people who say, if only I had 2 talents, I will do better. If only I had 5 talents, I will do better. If only I can speak like Anand Pillai, I will be better. If only I was born in so-and-so place, I would be better. If only I was educated in Indian Institute of Science, I would be better. No. What is your education? What is your qualification? What is your upbringing? With that, you do your best. Then you can go into the next one. Everybody sees the grass greener on the other side. So before you switch domains, before you switch industries, be faithful in that which is the least. Then God will open up the avenues and give you greater opportunities, and then go forward.
Okay, so one question we'll take from the audience that has come, an interesting one. And it says that if you can guide us, can we use the very rare opportunity of reset button for new normal in all walks of life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every time there is a recession, every time there is a crisis, it is a time for us to think back and reset. Start from scratch. Start from scratch. Go back, revisit your values, revisit your priorities, relook at your life. You definitely can. I have reset my life at least 6 times in the last 30 years.
Okay. So what does it take to reset, sir?
Yeah, first thing is, whatever it was that is your past, you should not dwell on it. John Maxwell, in his book Today Matters, he says, if at the end of a particular year, if all that you can think of is what you did the previous year, you have done nothing this year. If at the end of a particular month, if all that you have done, think of is what you have done the previous month, you have done nothing this month. I conduct a lot of performance reviews for my employees. So I'm in a particular appraisal year. Let us say this is the appraisal year 2019, 2020. The person, when he comes, he or she, when they come to for the performance cycle, and I give them a particular feedback, their immediate reaction is, but last year I was outstanding. Year before last I was outstanding. Why are you giving me below expectations or meet expectations? I said, listen, last year you were outstanding. You got a particular reward and a recognition. I am not evaluating you for last year. If all that you can think of is what you did last year, you have done nothing this year. Our appraisal is today. We need to learn to do what is known as zero based budgeting. What is zero based budgeting? That means when you open a particular year, you have no carry forward. You cannot rest on your past laurels. You cannot rest on your past achievements. Whatever it was that got you where you are today is not sufficient to keep you there. Whatever it was that got you where you are today professionally is not sufficient to keep you there. Whatever it was that got you where you are today in your spiritual life is not sufficient to keep you there. So we need to learn to clean our past, and that is the reason why I like the manner in which God fed the Old Testament people. They gave them manna. Did that manna last for an entire week? No. Did it last for an entire month? No. It was given daily. What is the key component of the Lord's Prayer? Does it say, Lord, give us our monthly provisions? Does it say, give us our yearly provisions? No. Give us our daily bread. God guides us day by day. Can you say, I had a very interesting situation. My son, when he was young, he was not brushing his teeth regularly. So I had to catch him and then coax him and ask him, have you brushed your teeth? So after I do that, he will brush his teeth. One day I caught him and he was having a very naughty smile on him. So I asked him, Naveen, have you brushed your teeth? He said, yes, Papa. And I asked him when. He said, day before yesterday. The simple guideline is we need to learn to live day by day. We need to learn to grow day by day. We need to learn to mature day by day. We cannot rest on our past laurels. If something great happened yesterday, praise God. If something bad happened yesterday, commit it to the cross and move on. Let us not live in the past. Let us learn to live in the present and move forward.
Great, sir. And sir, if there's a question being your any tips for the freshers are asking in your observation, what are the new skills that would be emerging and they can go for it?
Yeah, there are a lot of new skills. Depending on your domain area, there are a lot of new skills that are there. But across domains, one thing that is necessary is critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to really there's a lot of people have got negative thinking. It's not criticism. Critical thinking, analyze what is good, what is bad, what can be done about it, and linked with that is analytical thinking, the ability to analyze a situation and really take things forward. So critical thinking is definitely there, and also the ability, learning agility, which is what I talked about, have the ability to learn variety of things. So you may be a law student, you may be a medicine student, you may be a pharmacy student, you may be a commerce student, But today we don't have the luxury of not knowing technology. A lawyer needs to know technology, a medicine student needs to know technology, anybody. So technology orientation is something that is necessary. Critical thinking is necessary. Analytical thinking is necessary across domains, across the thing. The other one is also global thinking. We no longer have the luxury of thinking local and acting local. We need to learn to think global. We can act local. Take the person in Surat. Until Amazon came about, or until Flipkart came about, he or she was doing some saris or doing some things in a local manner. But the people who are having that global thinking suddenly said, listen, my design, my pattern, my particular product is suitable in the Surat market. But if I have the global mindset, if I have the big picture thinking, then I will be able to make products here in Surat or in some part of Gujarat, but it can be marketed the world over. That is the global thinking. So global thinking, critical thinking, analytical thinking, digital orientation or technology orientation, these are some of the skills that people need to have irrespective of wherever they are.
Great. And sir, one question that we have is that leadership, as you have uh, elaborated very well, but then at this point of time, because leaders themselves are having the challenges, and the subordinates address the challenges of the subordinates.
No, I didn't get your question. I lost the signal.
Okay. So I asked that for leaders, because leaders also are going through the various challenges and subordinates are going through challenges. So how do leaders at this point of time address their subordinates' challenges? How do they deal with that while dealing with their own challenges?
Yeah, see, the one thing is you need to learn to make people self-sufficient. If the leader is constantly involved in dealing with the subordinate's challenges, and if that subordinate has been with this particular leader for a long period of time, that means the leader has not done the job of making that subordinate self-reliant. I am okay with the leader dealing with the new subordinate challenges in the first few days or the first few moments of that particular person's life. I've got a lot of subordinates in my last close to 40 years of experience. I don't deal with the subordinate challenges for a long period of time. And this is where, if you look at the situational leadership, the situational leadership, there are four things that the leader should do. The first one is the leader should direct. But once the leader directs, then the person must go into coaching that person. After coaching the person, the leader must support the subordinate. And after supporting the subordinate, the leader must delegate and make sure that the subordinate is a self-reliant person. If the leader is constantly solving the problems of the subordinate, the leader is actually crippling the subordinate. Take the case of you as a parent. If constantly you are getting your children to wear the clothes, eat the food, even after they are 18 years old, isn't it embarrassing for them and for you? You need to get them to grow up. You need to get them to grow and become self-sufficient. So each one of us must learn to do things in a structured manner as per the time period available, and let them grow and become self-reliant.
Thank you so much for that, sir. And I really like you have had a series of conversations, and you have had series of talks on Corona to Corona. So if in the last segment, you can have the KKDS philosophy for us.
Yeah. So see, first of all, Corona is the name of the virus. Corona is do something about it. Lot of people have got crippled. The lockdown means everything is shut down. My answer is no. And a lot of people keep on asking me, I want more information. I want more knowledge. I want more tips. And I want to in saying what I'm saying, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people. If knowledge is power, librarians will rule the world. Knowledge is not power. It is applied knowledge that is power. And that is the reason why I've come out with that KKDS. So a lot of people, after listening to me, they say, I also want to do it. I also plan to do it. I also am praying about doing it. And I'm also desiring to do it. So I simply tell each one of them, KKDS, make sure that you are implementing what I am asking you to do. So what is KKDS? KKDS is simply Karke Dikao Sala. Learn to implement, learn to act, and not just live on the ideals or learn to live on spoon feeding.
We have a question, sir, from the audience that you have done. The biggest hurdle or difficulty, they say, to use the reset button is the process of de-learning. How critical is this de-learning, considering that normally we are so obsessed with our prevailing skills?
Absolutely. See, when you reset the button today, for example, in today's world, there are a lot of skills that are redundant, whether you like it or not. So unless you learn to relearn, unless you learn to unlearn, you will never be able to pick up the skills for the new age. Because I'm involved in teaching. I'm involved in mentoring. The biggest difficulty I'm having is not with freshers. Freshers are hungry. Freshers are keen because they don't have any legacy. They don't have any past. It is these people with years of experience. They constantly say, when I was in this company, this is what I did. When I was in this particular project, this is what I did. I said, listen, you left that company. You left that era. You've come here. Either you learn to do things our way, or you go to that company where you have come from. If you want to survive, if you want to grow, you will have to grow in this ecosystem. This ecosystem will help you to, or will require you to, unlearn whatever you have done in the past, relearn certain things, and hit the refresh button to go forward. Satya Nadella, a great and very successful CEO of Microsoft, I don't know if you have read his book or at least come across his book. You know what the title of his book is? Hit Refresh. Hit Refresh. And that is what you need to do. If Satya Nadella, such a person, what was Microsoft's starting business model? They were an operating system company. Today, they're into ERP, they're into digital, they're into a whole lot of other things. Every once in a while, we need to learn to hit refresh, reinvent, and move on.
But the challenge with unlearning is that the people sometimes don't realize, or they are late in realizing. So how do they realize? What is the process they can follow to realize that their skills or their knowledge or their learning is becoming redundant and they need to unlearn?
Yeah.
So,
no. You remember I told you those 5 people, they will set you right. Those 5 people, your encourager will come and tell you, your mentor will tell you, your mentee will tell you, you will have a Mark who will tell you, and you will have a Peter who will tell you. So if you are all alone, then you are lost. You are living in fool's paradise, and therefore you need to have that 5 people.
great, sir. Thank you so much. And I would like you to have some encouraging closing comments for 5 minutes or so. If you can take it.
Yeah. So my closing comments is, youngsters and anybody, learn to choose direction over distance. Don't see how far you have gone. That is not the thing. Question is, how much have you gone forward in the right direction? Choose direction over distance. That is the first thing. The second one, which is, and they're all in increasing importance. The second one is learn to have eternity as your perspective. C.S. Lewis has said, aim for heaven and you'll get earth thrown in. But if you aim for earth, you will get neither. Paul, writing to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians 15:19, he says, if only for this world you are having hope, we are to be pitied more than all the people. So the first one is choose direction over distance. The second one is have eternity in your mindset. And the third one, most importantly, is learn to live each day, day by day. God will give enough grace for that particular day. My God or our God will provide all our needs, not all our wants. So I need to learn to live today. And that's why the Lord Jesus says, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Anything more is different. Lord, don't say, I want to plan for next year, 5 years or next 10 years. Yes, you should be discerning, but you should know that you can be called tomorrow. So learn to live day by day. And this particular situation is an opportunity for all of us to hit refresh and really take things forward. And my actual closing comment is God has created each one of us as a first class original. I don't want to live like somebody else. I want to live like myself. I don't want to die a second grade copy. I want to live my purpose. So let me find out why God has created me. What is it that God has wanted me to do? And the moment I come to know that, I will be able to get that. And here I want to close with an analogy. I've got a particular watch. And let us say this watch is not functioning. So what will I do? The first thing I will do is look up the instruction manual. If I can't understand the instruction manual, what will I do? I will refer it to the manufacturer. In exactly the same way, we are a complicated mechanism. If we don't know how we are working, we need to look up the instruction manual. And that instruction manual is the book of life, and that is the Bible. For some reason, if you are not able to get our instructions from the Bible, get our instruction from the instruction manual, we need to refer ourselves to the Maker and who is the Lord who has created us. Let us learn to get in touch with God so that we get our day-to-day instructions and live the life that pleases Him and really honors Him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for spending time with us. And all of you who have watched this or who will watch it, please make sure to use these learnings, and please understand the principles that he has given you. Make direction over distance, right? Aim for eternity. And sir, I missed the third.
Yeah, learn to live your purpose-driven life. God has
Yes.
created each one of us as a first-class original.
Yes.
Don't die a second-grade copy.
Yeah. So that is one, is to find your purpose, to live your purpose. And that's a quote that you'll find everywhere. I love it from Anand Pillai, sir, that God has made you, and don't die a cheap copy.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, right. And all those who have been, I want to make a point, and we'll close that. See, the crisis does not make your character. The crisis will only reveal your character. So, right. So be close in your beliefs, be close to God, make your belief in God intact, keep it intact in these times, and believe that everything will work together for good for those who believe in Him, right? So with that, thank you so much, Anand sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and every time you have been generous in giving us time. And thank you, and God bless you all who have been watching. God bless you. Thank you. Do subscribe to the channel and keep spreading the word so that we can spread the hope in these critical times. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.